How many hours of footage do you have sitting on hard drives that nobody has ever seen? And be honest, last year, well, a year and a half ago, 2023, I spent too much traveling through Europe, camera in hand, ready to capture it all. But guess how much of that footage I've released? Maybe 5%. So today I thought it would be beneficial to talk about creator paralysis, or like the reason behind why we film so much but we rarely release anything. And obviously to talk about how to finally break that cycle. As creators, we're great at capturing moments, but terrible at like finishing them. The footage piles up, and before we know it, our hard drives are full, but our YouTube channels, our Instagrams, our TikToks are all empty. Look, I went to Europe with this big plan for capturing stunning travel videos, sharing my experiences, and telling meaningful stories.
It is the day before heading to Spain.
But instead, I came home with like hours of raw footage, and no one has seen like any of it. It's not just the unfinished projects, it's the guilt and the frustration that comes with knowing you didn't follow through. And here's why it happens. We want everything to be perfect. We look at our raw footage and think this isn't good enough. So we avoid releasing it at all. When I traveled to Europe, I kept telling myself, this isn't cinematic enough. No one really wants to see this. And slowly but surely, I stopped going out to film. And then I got home and I kind of just buried the footage. I've used some of it here and there, but like not really. Honestly, the world has made you, us, think that perfectionism is the standard. And I like to point out how wrong that is. I'm a jazz head, right? So let me rock out real quick on this. Do you think the birth and popularity of improvisation was a product of musicians trying to play perfectly? The very definition of improvisation is something created without preparation, which is the antithesis of perfection, because perfection requires planning. So let me simplify. Improvisation became its own form of artistic expression in jazz and in genres since. Improvisation has made for some of the most prolific guitar lines, trumpet solos. Improv is the reason why some of your favorite TV shows and movies have moments of comedic banter that you love. So let me just start by telling you, pleading with you to stop trying to be perfect. Embrace improvisation and the unknown and see how that feels. See how your perspective on creating changes. But let's say you have no problem with creating, right? Let's say you never have a shortage of ideas. What truly becomes overwhelming for you is what comes after you film. And this is where we'll start doing the work to get your videos off your hard drive and out into the world. Filming is the easy part. It's the editing, the storytelling, all the post-production and packaging that feels overwhelming for you. And the bigger the project, the scarier it feels, right? When I got back from Europe, I looked at all the clips and thought like, where do I even start for real? So I didn't. I mean, I created one video from like the first 3 days of me being in Europe, but I was there for 2 months. Truthfully, I fear judgment of my content, not really from my peers, but from myself and from the social media algorithms. We worry that what we share won't live up to expectations or that it will just flop on social media. To protect ourselves, we don't share at all. It's easier to watch and to consume than to go out and actually shoot it and to film it and to post it. For me, I knew I had a lot of decent footage that would have been truly worthy of sharing after my trip to Europe. I had a lot of personal breakthroughs that I caught on camera.
I will always recommend that people travel because it just teaches you more about yourself.
And when I got out of my way and I posted those, they were received with heavy appreciation from my following and from my communities. I think back now and I'm like, why didn't I keep doing that? It's really easy to beat yourself down, I tell you it is. So here's how we stop that. I've tried a lot of remedies to overcoming creator paralysis. Most recently, I've been jumping from trend to trend on TikTok and Instagram, trying to try my hand at that pot of gold of getting views and getting engagement. And I mean, I see the trends. I'm like, I know I can do that, right? I can show my cinematic shots. I can show my journey from my first year with my camera to where I'm at now. I can do all of those things. But when I post them, why am I getting 300 views and everybody else is getting 120,000, 1 million? Like, what's happening? Honestly, doing the trends has never worked for me. As a matter of fact, it's the reason behind why I've done the whole create and post for 2 weeks and then stop for another 3 months. But the other day, I had a really interesting original idea that I wanted to try. I wanted my girlfriend to draw a shape or something on a Post-it note and for me to go out with the challenge of recreating her picture in a photo out in the real world. It's the first time in months that I got immediate response on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts. I mean, it didn't go viral by any means, but it got real tangible engagement. And I mean, to me, that's what matters. I felt that little rush of like adrenaline when people start commenting and stuff. And it was on a piece of content that I actually wasn't sure that people would really like, which almost kept me from creating the content. This is exactly what we're talking about. I also believe that trying to go viral is a pipe dream that arguably is less effective than actually getting slow growth. And that's for a whole nother video. But hold on to that while we talk about getting over creator paralysis, because they kind of go hand in hand and it all works together. Here's what I learned about overcoming creator paralysis, and here's what I recommend. All right, number one, start small. Using my Europe trip as an example, right? Instead of editing the entire trip, I could have just picked one moment or one clip that really stood out or that I really loved. I mean, again, you can't control the algorithms and you can't really control what people find valuable or don't. So you have to start with the things that you find valuable, because trust me, those things always break through, for at least for somebody. If you're creating and posting with the hopes that you gain at least one person's view or one person's follow, that does matter. Trust me when I tell you it does. I could have focused on the fact that the smaller the project, the easier it is to just start. So just start. So for you, go through the footage that you have currently sitting on a hard drive. Try to find something worth sharing. Number two, remember I talked about improvising? This is number two. Sometimes finishing something is better than perfecting something. When I tell you that people connect with authenticity and not perfection, I'm telling you the truth. Prime example, I was on tour with Leon Thomas recently, and I was shooting 4K, slow motion, high energy clips, and I had this awesome, or at least what I thought was awesome, color grading on the footage. In contrast, I did one simple video with my iPhone for a TikTok with a cool transition being the central idea. I just wanted to try it out. Now look at these two clips. You can see which one did better. Now, I'm not saying this is always what's gonna happen. Matter of fact, a lot of times, cinematic content is great on all platforms. But in this specific moment, the fact that I was able to capture such a cool idea with transitions from sound check to the show, people really related to that. It wasn't about how it was shot, it was the fact that I thought of the idea and I was able to bring the idea to life. And it was, for the most part, pretty fluid. Now, I enjoyed making the high quality content more, right? Because I'm shooting on my FX3, shooting with, you know, the whole rig and doing all that and color grading and taking time to really get artistic. That has its own place. But I had the idea in my head. I wasn't sure if I could pull it off, and I did it anyway. I improvised, and it paid off. Now, for the last way that I would recommend just starting to overcome creator paralysis is to set yourself deadlines. For my Europe trip, I didn't really have any deadlines. When I got home, I just kind of sat on the footage and figured, well, at some point in time, it'll come to me, I'll create something, and we'll go from there, right? It currently still sits on this hard drive. Now, on the contrary, I told myself January of 2025, I'm gonna start taking YouTube seriously. Today is January 2nd of 2025. I'm giving myself 1 week to get this video edited and posted on YouTube.
Yeah, so the date is January 9th. It's a week since I recorded that. As you could probably tell by the date, I didn't post this within a week. I'm not gonna lie, guys, like I definitely been struggling. Part of my whole journey with this whole YouTube thing is accountability. I definitely want to keep myself accountable. It's just like, it is hard. There's like life things that have gotten in the way, and it makes it really hard sometimes to like push through. For me in particular, like just being vulnerable about it, like I am really struggling to like find client work right now. It's made it extremely hard to like focus on the creative side of the things I want to do versus like the things I have to do just to pay the bills. YouTube has specifically always been an issue for me because of the fact that like I've had to always balance between going out and looking for the next check versus doing the creative. I just felt like it made sense to show this in real time, that like this video is not done. There's nothing here. My timeline is empty. I just want to say, like, for people who are struggling to get a video out, like, you're not alone. I think that ultimately it's about like whether or not you push forward. And so I'm continuing to push forward. Let's get back to it though.
One thing I find really valuable in the creator community is accountability. Now, technically, my girlfriend is the one who holds me the most accountable, but that's besides the point. I love you, babe. So here's me holding you accountable. Comment down below one project, one script, a drawing, a song, whatever it is that you're working on or want to create or have started to create. In that comment, give yourself a deadline, a date, for finishing and releasing that project or that piece or whatever it is that you're working on. And in that comment, also include your social media handle for wherever you're gonna be posting. I'll do what I can to be checking in with you. I've got more videos like this coming, so make sure you subscribe because it's January and I'm ready to get to it. And I want y'all to hold me accountable too. Last thing I'll say to you all, it's the story that you take time to tell. So stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect clip, the perfect frame or setup. Just start improvising. See how it goes.